Hello and welcome, Retouching friends. Today we will have another episode of Let's Talk Retouching, joined by a fellow friend, photographer and retoucher Gerry Kingsley from Canada. Today will be mostly about retouching education. We will kick it off by talking about how important it is to develop a professional workflow, and then we will touch into the fields of how you can educate yourself, how you have to make time in your business schedule to educate and to stay on top of the game. And then we will talk a little bit about how you can set up goals for you to be more successful in the future and in the long run. And then we will finish off this episode by explaining why the dark side of the force, of the retouching force, is so tempting to follow and why it is a path you should not choose. So if you want to become a real retouching Jedi, follow along our conversation and enjoy.
I don't know of any schools that have retouching courses. I've never heard of any, at least not in Canada. No colleges and universities are teaching this on campus. They're not teaching how to, like I say, what's the difference between B2B or B2C? For people who don't know, it's working business to business or business to client. Two different arenas in terms of even how you approach them and how you speak to them and and your workflow surrounding them. And none of this is being taught by anywhere. So people will say, oh, I'm interested in photography. I want to make money on the side or eventually make this to a career. And they just, go online and find whatever information is available. And the information, as you know, is varied. There's some really good content and there's some really bad advice too. Almost 50-50. But if you fall into the lower 50 half and the bad advice, you're really not doing you're going to have a hard time running a business.
And also you're not doing yourself a favor when it comes to your workflows and stuff like this. So when I am teaching, I always make sure to look over how people working in terms of their workflows, and oftentimes the workflow is on how they set up your file and how they're approaching to work on it is not targeted to commercial work, because they're not necessarily working non-destructively, or they waste time doing stuff or whatever it is, like, because they're not set up in a professional way. And also, I agree with the education is over here in Europe, retouching is not a thing. So you can go study photography and you can go study graphic designs, and most ad agencies, they hire people who taught themselves in retouching and hire them as in-house retoucher, because the graphic designers are, at some point it's getting over their head, because they are also expected to do everything basically, which comes back to what we talked about earlier, is like, you have to be specialized to be an expert in your field. And so, the education thing is tricky, and also looking at the source you are learning from. So I totally agree that you find a lot of information about certain techniques and in Photoshop, and they come from all sorts of sources. So you will find Photoshop tips and tricks from wedding photographers and stuff like this. And if you're just on your own, I still think you're going to have a hard time figuring out which is everything you need to get good in your field. So it takes a lot of work and to go through all the information, I assume. And when I was getting into retouching, there was actually not that much information out there. Now it's getting better and better, but also it spreads on like the quality. So it doesn't necessarily get easier as well, even though the information is more that is out there.
No, but you're absolutely right though. And one thing that I see people, it's like they really underestimate that it is that, or being a retoucher is a trade in itself. Like you said, like even just understanding workflow, how you organize yourself, like in like any business, right? If you're going to be a line cook or anything like that, it's like there's a certain workflow you have to follow to be good at your job. If you have a poor workflow, you're going to be a poor retoucher. If I have a poor workflow for photography, I'll be a poor photographer. I won't be as efficient or as effective. And one thing that I see today is that people just want everything now, in terms of even they don't even want to take the time to learn a trade. And I would look at retouching or photography. It's a trade like no different than plumbing, than a contractor of any sort. It's like you have to learn the basics. You have to understand this to get good at it. But they figured, okay, well, I edited this one picture nice once, and I used Joe Blow's action pack that I bought for $80 US, and now I'm a business owner, and I can market myself to the world. That's not conducive for successful business.
Right. So yeah, and I think when you want to learn retouching and photography as a trade, it takes time, and you also have to be conscious about it. And I would say, depending on how good you are with sorting through the information and learning and educating yourself, it might take you up to 3 or 4 years to get to not to get paying clients, but to get to top level in the industry and not have to be behind all the trends and the common techniques. And also you have to think about, like, when you want to go in a profession, to invest in yourself, and then you have to invest in your marketing and your branding as well, and to make time for it. So a lot of people do not think about is the time investment you need to educate yourself. And even if you're running your business for quite some time, you need to educate yourself every now and then to follow up with the trends. And as I said, and you have to reinvest in yourself by spending time. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you have to look at it as like, if anybody who wants to take it serious, wants to achieve anything or any type of level of retouching and get the paid clients, they have to look at it as, this is your profession. You have to educate yourself. And because there's no formal training, you can't go to college, university to learn this. You're going to have to do it yourself. So you have to be disciplined. You have to have the passion to do it, and be determined in actually learning objectively and being critical of yourself. Try to find, it's always like, try to find someone you aspire to be like, and try to model yourself after them. So if they say, hey, Daniel, I love your work, I'm starting out, it's like, don't worry about what other people are doing around, like your competitors. Look at who the best are. For photography, I always idolized Peter Lindbergh and Annie Leibovitz and stuff. I never tried to copy them, but I tried to learn what I could from their work, absorbing their high quality content and putting my mind at that place. Because and looking at the long term, saying, you know what, maybe in 20 years, I'll be the next Peter Lindbergh and Leibovitz. So maybe in 20 years, you could be the next retoucher that's going to be doing all the stuff for Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and GQ and stuff like that, and working with those big photographers. But you can't make that leap. It's a process. It's a progression. People think that, oh, well, I got 1 or 2 gigs, now I'm professional, I could just do the same thing. It's constant educating yourself. It's constantly learning. Even for me, like, I don't ever pretend to assume like there's nothing else I can learn in photography. And I'm a university professor that teaches it. I'm learning almost every class. I'll learn one new thing. I'll have students ask me these random questions, and I'll be like, I've never thought of this before. So the second you tell yourself that, nope, there's nothing else I need to learn, that's the moment you just basically, you're gonna see your decline, and you're gonna fail at your business.
Yes.
You're not gonna have a long-term plan.
And those are the photographers or whoever who will at some point be complaining about not getting the work and the industry changing and stuff like this. But the reality is, things are constantly changing around us. The business industry is changing, and we have to adapt to that as well, and reevaluating our markets and our goals as well. And also, I think we just touched it a little bit earlier, is that we often, when we are trying to educate ourselves and looking for information, we tend to fall for the darkest or the dark path, the short-term result-driven techniques and everything, or
right, yeah.
So we have to be patient with ourselves and not trying to follow, information that promises quick results, because there are no quick results in reality. And it's probably not the best resource then to learn from, I would say.
Yeah, I know of several photographers and retouchers that they had an interest in the trade, and they just bought into an XYZ formula. Follow this step program, and then you can start making thousands of dollars. And they didn't learn the fundamentals. They didn't know. They don't even have a creative eye. They don't understand art or philosophy or anything that would help them as an artist grow and learn. Instead, they just prescribe to follow my XYZ little program, and then you're done. And then you can just learn. And then buy my action pack that's going to basically redo all the retouching for you, or buy my Lightroom presets, and this is going to be the end all be all. It's like you should know how to do these things in these programs. You should understand. And then if you want to use presets to facilitate or make things easier, fine. But they expect a kind of a one-button solution. Okay, I'll learn this technique from this person. I'll buy this preset from this other person. I'll buy the apps, and then boom, I have a business, and it's a turnkey solution. It's like, well, sorry, this is a creative industry. It's not a turnkey solution. It's what I've found is that it comes down to education and effort. You really have to educate yourself and be diligent about it, and actually want to put the effort into it. There's no shortcuts. There's no workarounds. There's no quick fix on becoming a professional. And that's just a general life rule, and no matter what you do. And that's one thing that I find people are losing sight of today in society for everything. Everybody wants to come out of school tomorrow and start making 120 grand a year.
Yeah.
And it's not happening. They don't even know how to sweep the floors or do basic stuff. It's just a matter of, I want to, get to the end goal before even, going through the process.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Or putting in the work. Yeah. Nobody wants to put in the work these days.
So guys, I hope we could deliver valuable insights into the industries of photography and retouching. And we touched a lot on education and how you can brand yourself and develop a foundation of skills to make it in the industry. And thank you, Gerry, for also sharing your insights on the photography and retouching industry and how you're dealing with clients and also potential outsourcing to retouchers. I think we could deliver a lot of value here. And again, thank you for sharing some information here with the audience.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Happy to be here. And if you're interested in I think Daniel put my website up there, but you can also find me on Instagram at Gerry at Work. And hit me up if you want to ask me a question. I'm usually pretty responsive. So happy to be here. Thanks.
Yes. Also, again, check out his website. He has some great work on there. And also your blog, I would say, is quite interesting to read.
Yeah, for sure. I do have articles on there and writing more when I have time. The biggest thing is trying to find time, but I do have a lot on retouching, especially posted on Retouching Academy as well.